This is our resident activist from Houston, doing what he did in Arizona as well, making democracy work. Ashton Woods, look, it's a pleasure being with you. There was yet another very interesting act inside of the main room for the Elizabeth Warren, who will be the main speaker. Tell me what happened.
Well, we didn't protest Elizabeth Warren. We protested
Stacy Evans, yes.
And, well, she's the Betsy DeVos of Georgia. And she basically voted to take away school choice and voucher programs. So basically, she's a Democrat in name only.
Right.
And while I'm not necessarily a Democrat, if you're going to say you're something, don't push through policies that say the opposite, that support conservatives, that hurt black people.
Right.
Because when these schools get closed and they start pushing these vouchers and all this other crap, black people will be affected. And remember that all Black Lives Matter. Period. We got to hold these people accountable everywhere.
Now, a lot of people were very upset. I mean, this was almost a repeat of the incident that occurred in Arizona. And I would have thought, let me tell you, Ashton, I would have thought that Netroots Nation, I think, handled it better this way because they didn't try to break you guys up or anything like that. But I would have thought the progressives within Netroots Nation would have learned a particular behavior as to why this is being done. What have you learned about this community and their reaction yet again to the protest?
Same thing I told you yesterday when we were live.
Yes.
I told you. White people have to learn and relearn and Google and research and relearn and unlearn and relearn again. Because it is not our labor to explain to them how they should be acting with black people. They have privilege, they need to learn how to check it. And to be honest with you, in progressive spaces, that's why I always say progressivism is really for a lot of white people as opposed to black people who do good work in the progressive movement. But these people, they're good with liberal policies, but when it comes to standing up for black lives and for people who weak, it's not happening. And as you saw, we kept chanting, trust black women. Black women organize this. I was there, even in Phoenix. And a lot of people don't understand what we did in Phoenix changed presidential policy.
No, we know that. That's what I was explaining to Shanga a few minutes ago.
And the funny thing is that we literally forced them to have a social justice platform during the 2016 election. And I was proud to be a part of that. And I'm proud to support the people of Georgia.
Yeah,
it's not right.
Ashton, I think it's important because what Asha Changa said was, I think, important. And for those that are listening to this and those that are conflicted that how can we have this problem within the progressive movement, people of color, and Ashton said black people. Ashton is a Black Lives Matter organizer, but it's people of color.
Yeah.
People of color within the Democratic Party, within the progressive movement at large, are in many times invisible until needed.
Yeah.
And it is important for this to be brought to the forefront. Look, I am not the type of person like you are, Ashton. I'm a much more moderate person in the way I approach things. But
we get each other.
Right. But when you don't react to a person that is trying to effect change without the type of rallies you have out there, it leaves the door open for Ashton to come and clean up, to put it as best as I can. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
In other words, there are changes that, if made, would have prevented what occurred in here today. And explain what those are.
Well, a lot of 101s, like how not to talk over black people, how not to silence black people, how not to get into black people's spaces, how not to get into people of color spaces, how not to silence people of color, how not to marginalize black women further. That's what they need to learn. How to, instead of saying, I want to talk to you about what you just did, it's can I talk to you? Because you don't have ownership over my body. And I'm not obligated to talk to you. And I don't have to have dialogue to you. Because you've had 2 to 3 years of a lot of data, a lot of action, and you know what this is, and you know what this is about. Fellow white, white person to black man to black man. This is what happens because we keep being forced into a conversation where we're left on the fringes yet again, especially black women, black trans women in particular as well. And now they're going after our kids.
Yeah, and
They can't
a
do
lot
this.
of people don't understand that all these changes that these Trumpian changes, first of all, it didn't start with Trump.
It didn't.
Okay, but these changes more than anyone else
Trump is
affects
Nixon 2.0.
people of color.
Trump is
And-
Nixon 2.0.
exactly. These things affect them, and that's the reason why they're really fighting hard, folks. And it's important that people really understand what's going on.
Also, when I say black, I understand that this is not a monolith.
Right.
What people don't understand this is that what people were upset with me when I showed up to the airport. When I showed up to the airport doing the immigration bans and all this other stuff that they tried to pull earlier earlier on in the Trump administration. But there are black undocumented immigrants. There are
Right.
Afro-Latino people. There are people who are black that are on DACA who are actually in the room right now about the protest for their right to exist that was granted to them by this government and is now trying to be revoked by that man with the tiny hand. You know, I mean, there has to be some type of point where people just stop and say, listen,
Well, actually,
what am I doing wrong and what can I do right? And who can I bring into the room even if we disagree?
Right.
Because when I'm talking about this, is when I was back and forth going to Austin and working on the Sandra Bland Act and all these other bills with other activists and other groups, what I learned is that if you go and talk to people, they might listen because you're not yelling and screaming at them.
right.
What we do when we protest is at the point where we can no longer talk.
And that is
That's
important
what I'm
at the point, because like I mentioned before, we have to get rid of the invisibility factor.
Yes.
Once people
Without assimilation.
Exactly. The invisibility factor must go. Ashton, as usual,
Thank you.
thank you very much.
All right, Houston.